Hi, and welcome to the Knowledge Video channel. In today's video, we are going to learn all about St. Patrick's Day. If you like this content, don't forget to leave a like and hit the subscribe button. St. Patrick's Day, or the Feast of St. Patrick, is a cultural and religious celebration held on the 17th of March, the traditional death date of St. Patrick, c. 385, c. 461, the foremost patron saint of Ireland. St. Patrick's Day was made an official Christian feast day in the early 17th century and is observed by the Catholic Church, the Anglican Communion, especially the Church of Ireland, the Eastern Orthodox Church, and the Lutheran Church. The day commemorates St. Patrick and the arrival of Christianity in Ireland, and celebrates the heritage and culture of the Irish in general. Christians who belong to liturgical denominations also attend church services, and historically the Lenten restrictions on eating and drinking alcohol were lifted for the day, which has encouraged and propagated the holiday's tradition of alcohol consumption. St. Patrick's Day is a public holiday in the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador, for provincial government employees, and the British Overseas Territory of Montserrat. However, there has been criticism of St. Patrick's Day celebrations for having become too commercialized and for fostering negative stereotypes of the Irish people. St. Patrick was a 5th century Romano-British Christian missionary and bishop in Ireland. Much of what is known about St. Patrick comes from the Declaration, which was allegedly written by Patrick himself. According to the Declaration, at the age of 16, he was kidnapped by Irish raiders and taken as a slave to Gaelic Island. The Declaration says that God told Patrick to flee to the coast, where a ship would be waiting to take him home. After making his way home, Patrick went on to become a priest. According to tradition, Patrick returned to Ireland to convert the pagan Irish to Christianity. The Declaration says that he spent many years evangelizing in the northern half of Ireland and converted thousands. Patrick's efforts were eventually turned into an allegory in which he drove snakes out of Ireland, despite the fact that snakes were not known to inhabit the region. Over the following centuries, many legends grew up around Patrick and he became Ireland's foremost saint. Celebration and traditions. Today's St. Patrick's Day celebrations have been greatly influenced by those that developed among the Irish diaspora, especially in North America. Until the late 20th century, St. Patrick's Day was often a bigger celebration among the diaspora than it was in Ireland. Celebrations generally involve public parades and festivals, Irish traditional music sessions, sea life, and the wearing of green attire or shamrocks. St. Patrick's Day parades began in North America in the 18th century but did not spread to Ireland until the 20th century. More effort is made to use the Irish language, especially in Ireland, where one march to St. Patrick's Day on the 17th of March is Seachtain na Gaelge, Irish Language Week. Since 2010, famous landmarks have been lit up in green on St. Patrick's Day as part of Tourism Ireland's Global Greening Initiative or Going Green for St. Patrick's Day. Perhaps because of this, drinking alcohol, particularly Irish whiskey, beer, or cider, has become an integral part of the celebrations. Irish government ministers travel abroad on official visits to various countries around the globe to celebrate St. Patrick's Day and promote Ireland. The most prominent of these is the visit of the Irish Taoiseach, Irish Prime Minister, with the US President, which happens on or around St. Patrick's Day. This tradition began when in 1952, Irish ambassador to the US, John Hearne, sent a box of shamrocks to President Harry S. Truman. From then on it became an annual tradition of the Irish ambassador to the US to present the St. Patrick's Day shamrock to an official in the US President's administration, although on some occasions the shamrock presentation was made by the Irish Taoiseach or Irish President to the US President personally in Washington, such as when President Dwight D. Eisenhower met Taoiseach John A. Costello in 1956 and President Sean T. O'Kelly in 1959, or when President Ronald Reagan met Taoiseach Garrett Fitzgerald in 1986 and Taoiseach Charles J. Haughey in 1987. However, it was only after the meeting between Taoiseach Albert Reynolds and President Bill Clinton in 1994 that the presenting of the shamrock ceremony became an annual event for the leaders of both countries for St. Patrick's Day. Wearing green. On St. Patrick's Day, it is customary to wear shamrocks, green clothing or green accessories. Saint Patrick is said to have used the shamrock, a three-leaved plant, to explain the Holy Trinity to the pagan Irish. In pagan Ireland, 3 was a significant number and the Irish had many triple deities, which may have aided St. Patrick Indiana his evangelization efforts. Roger Homan writes, "We can perhaps see St. Patrick drawing upon the visual concept of the triskill when he uses the shamrock to explain the Trinity." Jack Santino speculates that it may have represented the regenerative powers of nature, and was recast in a Christian context. Icons of St. Patrick often depict the saint with a cross in one hand and a sprig of shamrocks in the other. The first association of the color green with Ireland is from a legend in the 11th century Lebor Gabala Aren, the Book of the Taking of Ireland. It tells of Goidel Glass, Goidel the Green, the eponymous ancestor of the Gaels and creator of the Goidelic languages, Irish, Scottish Gaelic, Manx. Goidel is bitten by a venomous snake but saved from death by Moses placing his staff on the snakebite, leaving him with a green mark. One of these, Ith, climbs the Tower of Hercules and is so captivated by the sight of a beautiful green island in the distance that he must set sail immediately. The colour green was further associated with Ireland from the 1640s, when the Green Harp flag was used by the Irish Catholic Confederation. Since then, the colour green and its association with St. Patrick's Day have grown. The Friendly Brothers of St. Patrick, an Irish fraternity founded in about 1750, adopted green as its colour. The Order of St. Patrick, an Anglo-Irish chivalric order founded in 1783, instead adopted blue as its colour, which led to blue being associated with St. Patrick. In the 1790s, the colour green was adopted by the United Irishmen. Ireland was first called the Emerald Isle in When Erin First Rose, 1795, a poem by a co-founder of the United Irishmen, William Drennan, which stresses the historical importance of green to the Irish. The flags of the 1916 Easter Rising featured green, such as the Starry Plough banner and the proclamation flag of the Irish Republic. When the Irish Free State was founded in 1922, the government ordered all post boxes be painted green, under the slogan "Green Paint for a Green People." In 1924, the government introduced a green Irish passport. These were a Celtic Christian cross made of paper that was covered with silk or ribbon of different colours, and a bunch or rosette of green silk in the centre. Ireland, St. Patrick's Feast Day, as a kind of national day, was already being celebrated by the Irish in Europe in the 9th and 10th centuries. St. Patrick's Feast Day was finally placed on the universal liturgical calendar in the Catholic Church due to the influence of Waterford-born Franciscan scholar Luke Wadding in the early 1600s. It is also a feast day in the Church of Ireland, which is part of the worldwide Anglican Communion. The church calendar avoids the observance of saints' feasts during certain solemnities, moving the saint's day to a time outside those periods. St. Patrick's Day is occasionally affected by this requirement, when 17 March falls during Holy Week. This happened in 1940, when St. Patrick's Day was observed on the 3rd of April to avoid it coinciding with Palm Sunday, and again in 2008, where it was officially observed on the 15th of March. However, the popular festivities may still be held on the 17th of March or on a weekend near to the feast day. In 1903, St. Patrick's Day became an official public holiday in Ireland. This was thanks to the Bank Holiday, Ireland, Act 1903, an act of the United Kingdom Parliament introduced by Irish Member of Parliament James O'Mara. The first St. Patrick's Day parade in Ireland was held in Waterford in 1903. The week of St. Patrick's Day 1903 had been declared Irish Language Week by the Gaelic League, and in Waterford they opted to have a procession on Sunday the 15th of March. The parade began at the premises of the Gaelic League in George's Street and finished in the People's Park, where the public were addressed by the mayor and other dignitaries. On Tuesday the 17th of March, most Waterford businesses, including public houses, were closed and marching bands paraded as they had 2 days previously. On St. Patrick's Day 1916, the Irish Volunteers, an Irish nationalist paramilitary organisation, held parades throughout Ireland. The authorities recorded 38 St. Patrick's Day parades, involving 6,000 marchers, almost half of whom were said to be armed. During this time, St. Patrick's Day celebrations in Ireland were muted, although the day was sometimes chosen to hold large political rallies. In 1927, the Irish Free State government banned the selling of alcohol on St. Patrick's Day, although it remained legal in Northern Ireland. The first official, state-sponsored St. Patrick's Day parade in Dublin took place in 1931. On 3 occasions, parades across the Republic of Ireland have been cancelled from taking place on St. Patrick's Day, with all years involving health and safety reasons. In 2001, as a precaution to the foot and mouth outbreak, St. Patrick's Day celebrations were postponed to May, and in 2020 and 2021, as a consequence to the severity of the COVID-19 pandemic, the St. Patrick's Day parade was cancelled outright. Organisers of the St. Patrick's Day Festival 2021 will instead host virtual events around Ireland on their SPF TV online channel. In Northern Ireland, the celebration of St. Patrick's Day was affected by sectarian divisions. Although it was a public holiday, Northern Ireland's unionist government did not officially observe St. Patrick's Day. During the conflict known as the Troubles, late 1960s, late 1990s, public St. Patrick's Day celebrations were rare and tended to be associated with the Catholic community. In 1976, Loyalists detonated a car bomb outside a pub crowded with Catholics celebrating St. Patrick's Day in Dungannon. 4 civilians were killed and many injured. However, some Protestant Unionists attempted to reclaim the festival, and in 1985 the Orange Order held its own St. Patrick's Day parade. Since the end of the conflict in 1998, there have been cross-community St. Patrick's Day parades in towns throughout Northern Ireland, which have attracted thousands of spectators. In the mid-1990s, the government of the Republic of Ireland began a campaign to use St. Patrick's Day to showcase Ireland and its culture. The government set up a group called St. Patrick's Festival, with the aims to offer a national festival that ranks amongst all of the greatest celebrations in the world, to create energy and excitement throughout Ireland via innovation, creativity, grassroots involvement, and marketing activity, to provide the opportunity and motivation for people of Irish descent, and those who sometimes wish they were Irish, to attend and join in the imaginative and expressive celebrations to project internationally an accurate image of Ireland as a creative, professional, and sophisticated country with wide appeal. By 2006, the festival was 5 days long. More than 675,000 people attended the 2009 parade. Overall, 2009's 5-day festival saw almost 1 million visitors, who took part in festivities that included concerts, outdoor theatre performances, and fireworks. The topic of the 2004 St. Patrick's Symposium was Talking Irish, during which the nature of Irish identity, economic success, and the future were discussed. The week around St. Patrick's Day usually involves Irish language speakers using more Irish during Síocháin na Gaelge, Irish Language Week. In the Word magazine's March 2007 issue, Fr. Vincent Toomey wrote, "It is time to reclaim St. Patrick's Day as a church festival." As well as Dublin, many other cities, towns, and villages in Ireland hold their own parades and festivals, including Cork, Belfast, Derry, Galway, Kilkenny, Limerick, and Waterford. The shortest St. Patrick's Day parade in the world formerly took place in Dripsey, County Cork. England. In England, the British Royals traditionally present bowls of shamrock to members of the Irish Guards, a regiment in the British Army, following Queen Alexandra introducing the tradition in 1901. While female royals are often tasked with presenting the bowls of shamrock, male royals have also undertaken the role, such as King George VI in 1950 to mark the 50th anniversary of the formation of the Irish Guards, and in 2016 the Duke of Cambridge in place of his wife. Fresh shamrocks are presented to the Irish Guards, regardless of where they are stationed, and are flown in from Ireland. While some St. Patrick's Day celebrations could be conducted openly in Britain pre-1960s, this would change following the commencement by the IRA's bombing campaign on mainland Britain, and as a consequence this resulted in a suspicion of all things Irish and those who supported them, which led to people of Irish descent wearing a sprig of shamrock on St. Patrick's Day in private or attending specific events. Today, after many years following the Good Friday Agreement, people of Irish descent openly wear a sprig of shamrock to celebrate their Irishness. Birmingham holds the largest St. Patrick's Day parade in Britain with a city centre parade over a 2-mile, 3 kilometres, route through the city centre London. Since 2002, has had an annual St. Patrick's Day parade which takes place on weekends around the 17th, usually in Trafalgar Square. This has led to a long-standing celebration on St. Patrick's Day in terms of music, cultural events and the parade. Manchester hosts a 2-week Irish festival in the weeks prior to St. Patrick's Day. The festival includes an Irish market based at the city's town hall which flies the Irish tricolour opposite the Union flag, a large parade as well as a large number of cultural and learning events throughout the 2-week period. Malta. The first St. Patrick's Day celebrations in Malta took place in the early 20th century by soldiers of the Royal Dublin Fusiliers who were stationed in Floriana. Today, St. Patrick's Day is mainly celebrated in Spinola Bay and Paceville areas of St. Julian's, although other celebrations still occur at Floriana and other locations. Norway. Norway has had a St. Patrick's Day parade in Oslo since 2000, first organised by Irish expatriates living in Norway, and partially coordinated with the Irish Embassy in Oslo. Russia. The first St. Patrick's Day parade in Russia took place in 1992. Since 1999, there has been a yearly St. Patrick's Day festival in Moscow and other Russian cities. In 2014, Moscow Irish Week was celebrated from 12 to the 23rd of March, which includes St. Patrick's Day on the 17th of March. Over 70 events celebrating Irish culture in Moscow, St. Petersburg, Yekaterinburg, Voronezh, and Volgograd were sponsored by the Irish Embassy, the Moscow city government, and other organizations. In 2017, the Russian Orthodox Church added the feast day of St. Patrick to its liturgical calendar, to be celebrated on the 30th of March, OS. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Sarajevo, the capital city of Bosnia and Herzegovina, has a large Irish expatriate community. The community established the Sarajevo Irish Festival in 2015, which is held for 3 days around and including St. Patrick's Day. The festival organises an annual parade, hosts Irish theatre companies, screens Irish films and organises concerts of Irish folk musicians. The festival has hosted numerous Irish artists, filmmakers, theatre directors, and musicians such as Conor Horgan, Ailís Éireann, Dermot Dunn, Mick Moloney, Chloe Agnew, and others. Scotland. The Scottish town of Coatbridge, where the majority of the town's population are of Irish descent, also has a St. Patrick's Day festival which includes celebrations and parades in the town centre. Due to this large Irish population, there are many Irish-themed pubs and Irish interest groups who hold yearly celebrations on St. Patrick's Day in Glasgow. Switzerland. While St. Patrick's Day in Switzerland is commonly celebrated on the 17th of March with festivities similar to those in neighbouring Central European countries, it is not unusual for Swiss students to organise celebrations in their own living spaces on St. Patrick's Eve. Lithuania. Although it is not a national holiday in Lithuania, the Vilnia River is dyed green every year on the St. Patrick's Day in the capital Vilnius. Japan. St. Patrick's parades are now held in many locations across Japan. The first parade, in Tokyo, was organised by the Irish Network Japan, INJ, in 1992. Korea. The Irish Association of Korea has celebrated St. Patrick's Day since 1976 in Seoul, the capital city of South Korea. Malaysia. In Malaysia, the St. Patrick's Society of Selangor, founded in 1925, organises a yearly St. Patrick's Ball, described as the biggest St. Patrick's Day celebration in Asia. Guinness Anchor Berhad also organises 36 parties across the country in places like the Klang Valley, Penang, Johor Bahru, Malacca, Ipoh, Kuantan, Kota Kinabalu, Miri, and Kuching. Montserrat. The island of Montserrat is known as the Emerald Island of the Caribbean because of its founding by Irish refugees from St. Kitts and Nevis. Montserrat is one of 3 places where St. Patrick's Day is a public holiday, along with Ireland and the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador. International Space Station. Astronauts on board the International Space Station have celebrated the festival in different ways. Irish-American Catherine Coleman played a 100-year-old flute belonging to Matt Molloy and a tin whistle belonging to Paddy Moloney, both members of the Irish music group The Chieftains, while floating weightless in the space station on St. Patrick's Day in 2011. Chris Hadfield took photographs of Ireland from Earth orbit, and a picture of himself wearing green clothing in the space station, and posted them online on St. Patrick's Day in 2013. Canada, one of the longest-running and largest St. Patrick's Day, French, Le Jour de la Saint Patrick, parades in North America occurs each year in Montreal, whose city flag includes a shamrock in its lower right quadrant. St. Patrick's Day itself, however, has been celebrated in Montreal since as far back as 1759 by Irish soldiers in the Montreal garrison following the British conquest of New France. In St. John, New Brunswick, St. Patrick's Day is celebrated as a week-long celebration. The festival is named for a young Irish Dr. James Patrick Collins who worked on Partridge Island, St. John County, quarantine station tending to sick Irish immigrants before he died there himself. In Manitoba, the Irish Association of Manitoba runs a yearly 3-day festival of music and culture based around St. Patrick's Day. In 2004, the Celtic Fest Vancouver Society organized its first yearly festival in downtown Vancouver to celebrate the Celtic nations and their cultures. This event, which includes a parade, occurs each year during the weekend nearest St. Patrick's Day. The Toronto Maple Leafs hockey team was known as the Toronto St. Patricks from 1919 to 1927, and wore green jerseys. In 1999, when the Maple Leafs played on St. Patrick's Day, they wore green St. Patrick's retro uniforms. Some groups, notably Guinness, have lobbied to make St. Patrick's Day a national holiday. In March 2009, the Calgary Tower changed its top exterior lights to new green CFL bulbs just in time for St. Patrick's Day. Part of an environmental non-profit organization's campaign, Project Porchlight, the green represented environmental concerns. Approximately 210 lights were changed in time for St. Patrick's Day, and resembled a leprechaun's hat. United States, St. Patrick's Day, while not a legal holiday in the United States, is nonetheless widely recognized and observed throughout the country as a celebration of Irish and Irish-American culture. Celebrations include prominent displays of the color green, religious observances, numerous parades, and copious consumption of alcohol. In 2020, for the first time in over 250 years, the parade in New York City, the largest in the world, was postponed due to concerns about the COVID-19 pandemic. Argentina, in Buenos Aires, a party is held in the downtown street of Reconquista, where there are several Irish pubs. In 2006, there were 50,000 people in this street and the pubs nearby. Australia, St. Patrick's Day is not a national holiday in Australia, although it is celebrated each year across the country's states and territories. For instance, Melbourne's 2006 and 2007 St. Patrick's Day festivals and parades were cancelled due to sporting events, Commonwealth Games and Australian Grand Prix, being booked on and around the planned St. Patrick's Day festivals and parades in the city. However, Brisbane's St. Patrick's Day Parade, which was cancelled at the outbreak of World War II and wasn't revived until 1990, was not called off in 2020 as precaution for the COVID-19 pandemic, in contrast to many other St. Patrick's Day parades around the world. The first mention of St. Patrick's Day being celebrated in Australia was in 1795, when Irish convicts and administrators, Catholic and Protestant, in the penal colony came together to celebrate the day as a national holiday, despite a ban against assemblies being in place at the time. This unified day of Irish nationalist observance would soon dissipate over time, with celebrations on St. Patrick's Day becoming divisive between religions and social classes, representative more of Australianness than of Irishness and held intermittingly throughout the years. Historian Patrick O'Farrell credits the 1916 Easter Rising in Dublin and Archbishop Daniel Mannix of Melbourne for reigniting St. Patrick's Day celebrations in Australia and reviving the sense of Irishness amongst those with Irish heritage. Bishop Patrick Phelan of Sale described in 1921 how the authorities in Victoria had ordered that a Union Jack be flown at the front of the St. Patrick's Day parade, and following the refusal by Irishmen and Irish Australians to do so, the authorities paid for an individual to carry the flag at the head of the parade. New Zealand, from 1878 to 1955, St. Patrick's Day was recognised as a public holiday in New Zealand, together with St. George's Day, England, and St. Andrew's Day, Scotland. Auckland attracted many Irish migrants in the 1850s and 1860s, and it was here where some of the earliest St. Patrick's Day celebrations took place, which often entailed the hosting of community picnics. While St. Patrick's Day is no longer recognised as a public holiday, it continues to be celebrated across New Zealand with festivals and parades at weekends on or around the 17th of March. Criticism: St. Patrick's Day celebrations have been criticised, particularly for their association with public drunkenness and disorderly conduct. Irish-American journalist Niall O'Dowd has criticised attempts to recast St. Patrick's Day as a celebration of multiculturalism rather than a celebration of Irishness. St. Patrick's Day celebrations have also been criticised for fostering demeaning stereotypes of Ireland and Irish people. In the run-up to St. Patrick's Day 2014, the Ancient Order of Hibernians successfully campaigned to stop major American retailers from selling novelty merchandise that promoted negative Irish stereotypes. Some have described St. Patrick's Day celebrations outside Ireland as displays of plastic paddiness, where foreigners appropriate and misrepresent Irish culture, claim Irish identity, and enact Irish stereotypes. LGBT groups in the US were long banned from marching in St. Patrick's Day parades in New York City and Boston, resulting in the landmark Supreme Court decision of Hurley v. Irish American Gay, Lesbian, and Bisexual Group of Boston. Congratulations, you made it to the end of this video. You are now officially an expert in St. Patrick's Day. If you want to become smarter by watching more knowledge videos, don't forget to leave a like, write down a comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.